my name is Kavalva, and this is my name is Kavalva, and hello guys, my name is Kavalva, and this is Archiclan. This channel won't be just about sharing knowledge about architecture, but also analyzing the thought process of some designers through drawings, plans, and sections. Due to which they have made several strides in this field. So without any further ado, let's begin with this video.
This video is about architect Luis Barragan, Pritzker Prize winner of 1980. He was the second person to ever win a Pritzker Prize. Why this skip? I just felt a bit too monotonous to start with the first win. Luis Barragan, a modernist architect with taste in vernacular architecture.
A Mexican architect and landscape architect, Luis Barragan sought to reconcile traditional Mexican architecture with international modernism. Barragan had been termed as a surrealist, minimalist, and postmodernist. Yet his works are personal, evocative, and often defy classification.
The 20th century Mexican architect and landscape architect Luis Barragan was of robust nature and strained imagination.
His family, along with him, lived in a ranch and were builders by profession. In 1902, he lived in Jalisco in a neighborhood with reserve of vivid and regionalist place, which would stay with him for the rest of his life.
Barragan was a trained engineer and was entirely self-taught as an architect and a landscape architect. This made him a pariah in the eyes of his architect peers. He also felt estranged from their emotional and intuitive capacity. For the most part, he worked in isolation and solitude, just like Superman and his fortress of solitude, where he came to rest after fighting crimes.
He was heavily inspired by writings of Ferdinand Bach, a German-French writer, designer, and artist. The architecture, landscaping, and urban planning of Europe fascinated him. Being born in Mexico, his deliberate expedition in architecture began with succession of a small residential works in Guadalajara. Luis Barragan again travelled in 1931 to France and then in New York. Firstly, he pursued a modernist design education. Furthermore, during his travels to New York, he came face to face with Mexican mural painter Jose Clemente Orozco, also the Austrian-American architect, theatre designer, artist and sculptor Friedrich Kaiser, and a few architecture magazine editors. Lastly, his work was forever impacted by Le Corbusier after his visit to him.
Unsurprisingly, it were creative professionals like sculptors, painters, poets, and philosophers who were Barragan's greatest heroes.
His mission was to reconnect international modernism with regionalistic styles of Mexico, which he remembered from his childhood. The video is divided into categories such as concept, color, material, planning. First one, concept. Having taken the art of emotional architecture induced by his friend Goitres, it is not difficult to find in the works of Barragan functional spaces without any particular order, but poetic enough to achieve what the architect has always sought.
What is poetic experience? According to Google, it is something beautiful and it expresses emotions in a very sensitive and a moving way. It's loaded with symbolism and creates spaces which do not exist elsewhere. Architecture moves through water, geometric abstractions, and color planes.
The elements that represent those symbols: man is the strength of horse, the woman's elusive and changing like water and landscape. The horizontal walls that limit the background and contrast with the lawn closes up. Geometry is perfectly regular. A plane holds the aqueduct and porch beneath, cutting the space cleanly.
Secondly, we have Casa Barragan. The walls have multiple qualities in Barragan's architecture. Firstly, it casts shadows by the play of trees, and secondly, it carefully frames the views.
The rough texture originates from pea gravel mortar, applied to brick, and creates vivid, irregular patterns and emphasizes a tangible feel of touch to the material.
While the overall structure of walls is kept minimalist, the element of texture and color create a poetic experience.
The universal message of Luis Barragan is: the man has always sought to protect themselves from anxiety and fear. He tried to promote living spaces in our mind with serenity. He continued, "We have worked in the hope that our work cooperate in the great task of dignifying human life by trails of beauty and help to build a dam against the wave of dehumanizing and vulgarity."
If our work together in achieving some of these concepts do not succeed in solving problems of man, at least cooperate to make your life fuller, beautiful, more bearable, and hold on to the despair. Fourth one is Capilla de la Capuchinas. A rough textured material is used as characteristics of this project. A sublime handling of light but simple treatment of space is done by the architect.
From the moment you enter the chapel, the detail, the colors, the play of light and shadows surprise those who visit this work.
Second category, color. To Barragan, a horse lover, The animals symbolically represented an aspect of humanity and knew how to communicate this idea unequivocally in clubs, which is difficult in the field of architecture due to nature of concept.
Color Cuadra San Cristobal. Red, pink and purple colors are reserved for horse field, whereas the human sphere was painted with neutral cream color. Although maybe there is another way to interpret San Cristobal, just as a single dwelling designed for two animals, horse and the rider.
Second one is Casa Barragan. He found many furnishings at craft markets and antiques, all true to the cultural identity of Mexico.
The cultural flair is also apparent in bold pink, yellow and lilac colors chosen by the architect. The minimalist style gives reason to significance of detail. Every aspect of the house has its purpose and is obviously planned by the architect.
Third one is Casa Gilardi. In this work, color plays an important role. The patio is spirited purple color. The visitor prepares a journey through the house to enter a very important dining room with the pool deck.
Suddenly, in the pond comes a pink wall that cuts off water and almost reaches the ceiling. The wall gives way to space. It does magic, creates some tension. I will tell you a secret. The pool wall or the column is rose such that it does not hold anything. It is a piece of color in the wall for pleasure, to bring light to the area and improve their overall. Color isn't just a surface decoration for Barragan. It is not an afterthought. It is foundational to his architecture. His space can't stand alone without color. If they were all white, they'd be dead.
Capuchinas.
From the moment you enter the chapel, the details, the color, and the play of light and shadow surprise those who visit this work. It is a space that lets in light in an indirect way. The walls have color and the glass also resulting in a series of shadows and a very warm space completely opposite to the outside. In addition to finishing off with the golden altar by Matías Goitres.
The walls appear to be pink, but in reality they are orange. With natural light, the space is wrapped in a texture which cannot be seen but felt. Material. Traditional architect designed the gate consisting of two perpendicular walls with dark shade in the bottom.
The covering over the door frame gives an enclosing ambience which mimics the trees in immediate background. Additionally, the flooring here is stone tiles. Furthermore, the courtyard and the openness plays off really well on the white plaster walls. Third, water body. The entrance is situated such that horses would enter on sandy terrain. The gap between these unequal heights is closed off by 3-meter high purple screen with pivoting gate made of sheet metal. The pin wall accentuates the structures. Casa Barragan. Upon entering the room, which has pink walls with grey shaded flooring, is contrasting as to the smooth texture, but the use of 1 by 1 foot tiles makes the flooring underbearing and brings balance. Furthermore, the wooden pieces of furniture are placed here as this room was meant for a telephone room. The furniture has not been moved in last 50 years.
Secondly, the living room is on the opposite side of the house where one enters and it looks onto a garden.
Flooring used here is wooden with double-heighted window panes. The flooring outside the glass is stone, thus continuing the combination in rhythmic order of the front foyer. Lastly, the use of half different height walls with amalgamation of floor heights intensifies the space structure and makes it a constant flow of space.
The entrance has access to further children's wing. The built-up spaces are such that on the left we have public spaces such as living room and kitchen. On the right we have private spaces such as the bedrooms. The interesting part about this entrance wall which goes throughout the site.
When seen from the other side, it is a wall placed on the center of the built area and is a projection giving a walkway and viewing area.
Second, Casa Barragan. Upon entering the vestibule, a public space, after which you enter a hall adjoined by the dining room and kitchen.
The kitchen is so connected that it opens up to the garage in a smart way. Second, what I found interesting is the use of ducts. They are the size of doors which opens up on them or the rest of the dead wall of the duct. The position of the duct is as equal space as any other. That is, the buffer this duct creates enabled Barragan to provide with openings such as it allows the flow of space into each other. Barragan has not shied away from literally erasing these negative spaces, bringing sense to the spaces he created. Next, we can see a monophonic harmony due to a single material usage with variation of glass and wooden panes balancing the solid concrete.
There are several sample plans online, although none of which corresponds to how the house appears right now.
It is zoned for different levels of privacy, explained Mark English. After the entry and the service area, one traverses a corridor leading to first floor areas for dining entertaining. Ascending the stairs brings us to a deeper level of privacy, to which is a private area.
flow is restricted in several places, intentionally. There is no access to the first floor courtyard from the front axis, and not even a window. Access only appears in the dining room in the rear.
This forces people to traverse through a passage, a golden yellow light filled corridor, in order to enter the first floor courtyard area. The maid's room has a window and access to a separate patio del cervico. This appears to be a wall separating it from the main courtyard. So there is a visual privacy but not auditory privacy. The second story extends the courtyard with open smaller courtyards. Capilla de las Capuchinas. The first reception space is small, semi-sunken courtyard with white walls, one of which is the one with extruded monumental cross. A pool with white flowers give human scale to the space, and to its right a yellow lattice, which is reflected on this water on the black stone. The structure consisting of strip of wood or metal crossed and fastened together with square or diamond shaped spaces left between, used as screen or fence or as support for climbing plants.
The water body is the main attraction of this rejected space creates a completely different atmosphere. On the outside, you are in an isolated space with its own qualities. When you enter the main chapel, you feel something out of the ordinary, completely different from the transitory spaces which takes you there.
At the end of the pool, there is the access to main chapel, next to the small stone staircase. In this space stands out long and very simple bench that seems to float perpendicular to the wall. Inside the space, pink colored glass was used, which illuminates the environment and gives it a special shade of light. A light which passes through some yellow windows located in frame in the choir floods the space with caramel color and presents an austere chapel with walls of rough texture and intense ochre colors. The floors are made of wood, and sculptural work of golden rectangle designed by Matthias Goitres stand out on the altar.
Torre De Satellite. Torre De Satellite. Torre De Satellite. I'm just using my which I got in school to pronounce this European language. Country's first urban sculpture of great dimensions. Had its planning started in 1957 with ideas with architect Luis Barragan, painter J. Davies, and sculptor Matthias Goitres.
The project was originally planned to be composed of 7 towers, the smallest one reaching a height of 200 meters, about 650 feet. But the budget reduction forced the design to be composed of only 5 towers, the tallest measuring 52 meters, 170 feet, and the shortest 30 meters and 98 feet. The tower were conceived from beginning to be a symbol of Cuadra satellite, a confident affirmation of Mexico's future after successful stable development during the years of Second World War. Musical value. The plan has similar height throughout the satellite, depicting a single melody and monophonic tonality of the planning. To explain in short, there is always a musical aspect in architecture. The vertical aspect resembles harmony in architecture.
Lastly, don't forget to share your thoughts on this video, commenting below, and let me know if you would like to see this kind of content in the future. Thank you, and subscribe to Archiclan. Fourth one is Capilla de las Capuchinas. Fourth one is Capilla de natural light. The space is wrapped in a that they cannot be seen but felt. With